In our last segment, we began compliance, and we're going to finish it here before we move on to the other three social influence topics. Has this ever happened to you before? A store advertises a great price on an item, and you get excited and go to buy it. But when you arrive, you are told they ran out of that item. And they then try to talk you into buying a more expensive, inferior model. This is called bait and switch. It is hard to deal with bait and switch because, like lowballing in your mind, you already owned the item, and now not owning it would be perceived as a loss. So oftentimes people fall for this. More recent legislation has required stores to give you a rain check in this case. But many stores get around it by printing in small letters on the ad, while supplies last. The door in the face technique is sort of the reverse of the foot in the door. A large, unreasonable request is followed by a smaller, more reasonable one. In one study that we're going to call the volunteer study, experimenters stopped college students on campus and asked if they would commit to volunteer work without pay at a counseling center for juvenile delinquents, a few hours of the week for 2 full years. They scored a big fat 0. Every student politely slammed the proverbial door in the experimenter's face. But then the experimenter followed it up with a more modest proposal, asking the students if they'd be willing to take a group of delinquents on a 2-hour trip to the zoo. 50% complied, and yeah, they actually showed up. Compare this with less than half this compliance rate when students were only confronted with that second, smaller request. Now, the door in the face and foot in the door techniques work for different reasons. Remember the foot in the door technique from earlier on the slide? The foot in the door technique works because people are motivated to remain consistent. They complied with you before, so they're more likely to comply again, even when the request is larger. The door in the face technique works because of guilt for slamming that proverbial door in the researcher's face. They kind of feel bad for saying no. After doing that, the small request seems more reasonable, and complying to it seems a relatively easy way to ease that guilt. Here's a good review question before we move on from compliance. Which of the phenomena listed on this slide is this machine in this image counting on? So look at it closely, pause the video if you need to, and the answer is mindlessness. Remember Langer's copy machine study? Mindlessness. Okay. Here's another good review question. Imagine that you were a participant in a study, and another participant, really a confederate working for the researcher, leaves for a bathroom break, comes back with 2 Cokes from the machine, and they gift you with one. Later, at the end of the study, this person asks if you'd like to buy a raffle ticket he's selling for a good cause. In an actual study, the average participant bought raffle tickets more than those who did not receive a Coke, and at almost twice the cost of the Coke. So which of the above social compliance techniques was used in this study? And the answer is the reciprocity norm.